Well, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has directed commercial banks to dispense and receive old Naira notes as legal tender across the country. The CBN gave the directive at a bankers committee meeting held on Sunday, according to a statement by the acting director, CBN Corporate Communications, Issa Abdul-Mumin, on Monday. And this is coming hours after the presidency Monday evening said the CBN had no reason not to comply with the ruling of the Supreme Court on the Naira redesign policy. It stated that the President Muhammadu Buhari, did not instruct the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, and the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, to disobey any court orders involving the government and other parties. While joining us to discuss and analyze this issue is Sumbo Badejoko, Policy and Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, after over 10 days of the Supreme Court ruling, actually today makes it 11 days since the March 3rd Supreme Court ruling that old notes should remain legal tender. Now we see the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, directing commercial banks to dispense and receive the old Naira notes as legal tender across the country. What does this say about the rule of law in Nigeria?
Well, it's actually a bastardization of the rule of law because many had thought that since it's a Supreme Court ruling and not an High Court or any other court ruling, that the federal government would not hesitate in complying, especially due to the fact that the policy had created a conflict between the federal government and state governments of the federation. And as a matter of fact, it's actually some state government that took the federal government to court concerning the policy. So delaying it for 10 days, especially now that they come out, put a real question mark on the government's ability to respect the rule of law, especially going on to the premises that we already have. There are precedences that are pointing to this. There are so many court orders that this government have not obeyed. Now this one is adding to that one, to the previous ones that we have. But 10 days delay, that has eroded the confidence that people would have had, and of course it created more problem within the economy, and of course a lot of people now became skeptical. And of course now that they've decided to obey the order, that skepticism is still there, because until people begin to see the money in circulation, they will still not believe that the government has obeyed the court order.
Absolutely. Well, let's also talk about the fact that we see President Muhammadu Buhari quite exonerating himself, saying that he didn't tell the CBN and the Attorney General of the Federation to disobey the court ruling. But you'd recall that during his broadcast, he emphasized that only the 200 Naira notes should remain legal tender, despite the Supreme Court ruling, the earlier ruling before the March 3rd ruling, that all the old Naira notes, 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira, should run concurrently with the new ones. What position do you think the president is taking here? Is it trying to save face or trying to escape any form of criticism from Nigerians?
It is a self-saving approach, which is quite suspicious, and it confirms the insinuations that, of course, the CBN governor has not been acting alone. Because if you look at this whole policy from the onset, due process was not followed in the formation of the policy, and the implementation too, badly timed and, of course, badly implemented. Then the duration of the period is even too short for what they intend to achieve. Now, the fact that the CBN did not respond to the court ruling until the federal government issued that statement confirms the fact that they were both working in the background. And it's a case of, don't worry, you go and say this, we will give you this statement. So, in the federal government statement, they try to exonerate themselves and putting the blame on the CBN, knowing fully well that the CBN governor would not be able to defend himself. And that's why even the governor himself was not the one that issued the statement. He had to push it to one of the directors in bank to issue the statement, which is quite a departure from what we usually have when the policy was being brought forward. It's usually the CBN governor attacking to the media with all manner of aggression and pomposity, but now he's just not there. The media couldn't have access to him. NPC meeting was all supposed to hold last week. The meeting could not hold because the CBN governor was not there to be found. And even when they were doing the bankers committee meeting, they held the meeting on a Sunday. Against the normal thing, it's no longer a business, it's more of a quick gathering of people. And these are things that are suspicious, that definitely there's an ulterior motive behind the introduction of the policy in the first place, because this is not something that is peculiar to the nation. As we speak, the UK has also redesigned their currency by removing the head of the queen and putting that of the king there.
Well, we'll definitely delve into the motive, the ulterior motive you just talked about. But let's look at the fact that this ruling or this directive by the CBN is also coming a few hours after the Anambra State Governor, Chukwuma Soludo, said that the CBN has now, made a disclosure, or the CBN governor made a disclosure to him in a phone conversation on Sunday night that it has directed banks to dispense old Naira notes. And of course, many analysts had criticized his comments, asking how he became the spokesperson of the CBN, that, the CBN was supposed to address Nigerians and not put a phone call through to a former central bank governor, even though, yes, he may have some form of relationship with him. What picture do you think this paints to Nigerians?
It shows that there is an elaborate conspiracy that is known to the CBN governor and the people in the presidency. For Chukwuma Soludo, if Chukwuma Soludo had knew that the federal government would issue a statement the following day, I'm sure he wouldn't have bothered himself, he would have waited, because he called based on personal relationship with the governor, and he had to relate to his people, because he too has been asking his people to keep spending the new notes, the old notes, but they have refused because people are afraid. They've not heard from the president or from the CBN governor. So in order to encourage his people, you have to give them that, well, don't worry, I was on the phone with this man and he has told me that the notice is now a legal tender. So that got into the media and was expanded. If he had known that, well, this the following day the federal government will issue their own statement to really confirm that, he probably wouldn't have issued this statement. But in all, it puts it kind of bring to fore the idea of this conspiracy that there is something more to the designing Naira redesign policy. Nobody is even having issue with the redesign. What people had issues with is the withdrawal limit
availability,
and the scarcity of that new note. So those are the issues that generated crisis. And the fact that the CBN could not even come out with figures as regards the amount of new notes that was printed and the distribution quota to the banks, so that we will know where to really put the blame. And what was withdrawn from the circulation is more or less much higher. It's a fraction of that amount is what was returned back to the circulation. And the banks were not even prepared, because that's why you have so many system collapse being experienced in so virtually all the commercial banks. And a lot of people are out of job as we speak, because the POS business are practically being grounded as we speak.
Well, the presidential elections have come and gone, and a lot of commentators had predicted before now that this whole policy was politically motivated, and that after the major elections it was going to go away. Is that what we're experiencing now? Because before now it looked like there was no going back on the February 10 deadline despite the court injunctions, but right now we're seeing the CBN in alignment with the federal government telling us that by December 1 it would cease to be legal tender, and so you can spend it concurrently with the new ones for now. Before now, it didn't look like they were open to that option.
Thinking aloud now, and I will be very, very sincere with you, I want to believe that that yesterday's announcement had been premeditated, because the governorship election ought to have taken place on the 11th. after the announcement of the governorship results. But unfortunately for them, the fallout of the presidential election brought about the legal tussle that forced the postponement of the governorship election by 1 week, which they did not factor into their own equation. Now, people can no longer exercise any patience further because the situation out there has become deteriorating. So they had no other choice than to just back down. But I want to believe that they were holding on to with their statement because of the governorship election, which was due for the 11th of March. And when you look at the 11th of March, it's just 7 days after the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. But they could no longer take it beyond now. They don't know what could happen. So they don't release a statement on a Monday like has been done. They wouldn't know what this week would, what the week will bring and how people will react. Holding on to the fact that their intention, yes, it reduced vote buying in a way, but it also increased the level of apathy. And when you add that to the fallout of the eventual process in the presidential, people have lost confidence. That means we will not even have people going out to vote if they don't have money on their hands, because I know people that travel distance before they will cast their vote. They are not voting in their place of residence. They go to their hometown to vote, and if they are going, they need to go with cash because of their relatives. So these people, a lot of them could not participate in the presidential election, and a lot of people will now be discouraged. So that's what I think has informed their decision to now back down yesterday.
All right, we have to wrap up now because of time, but what are your thoughts? Come December 31, the newly fixed deadline, do you think Nigerians will have to now brace up for a repeat of the hardship and all of the harrowing experience they've gone through this season?
No, let's not forget one fact. By May 29, a new government will be in place. And the president-elect is already observing. He himself is not in support of the policy implementation, not the policy itself. Of course, and every other, his own economic team would have been marshalling plan on how to really ensure that there is enough currency in circulation, because we are not that developed to go full-fledged cashless as is being promoted. We have to go gradual, and that is what the new government will come. And for me, between May 29 and December 31st is a very long time. That's 6 months. There is enough period for them to have cushioned all the effects of this policy on the economy.
Barring last-minute changes, because we know that the election or the results is still being disputed in the court of law. And so, what if government changes and the next person is
cancelled?
What?
Another election will take place. You will definitely have a new government in place by May 29.
Yes, but what if the new government is in alignment with what is currently going on?
Well, all the contenders, I've not seen any of them that really is happy with what is going on.
Well, I recall that Peter Obi was in total support of this, and he was saying that Nigerians should bear with.
But the outcome has really, why has it not issued any statement?
Okay, all right, I see your point.
Because everybody is not in support of the outcome. The policy itself is good, but initially they were supporting the implementation. But now the outcome and the consequences of that implementation
may have changed their disposition. All right, we have to wrap it up now. Thank you so much. We must appreciate you, Sumbo Badejoko, Policy and Public Affairs Analyst. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you for having me.